my guidance counselor asked me what I wanted to do. And I said, well, look, I'm pretty good at football. I'd love to get a scholarship and then go play in the NFL. She asked me to pick something else. She said, well, because it's impossible. Like 1 in 1 million kids gets an opportunity to play in the NFL. I looked and I asked her a question. I said, well, how come I can't be that one?
Ephraim Salaam is one of the most compelling reinvention stories in professional sports. Most people know him as a 13-year NFL veteran. Since walking away from the game, Ephraim has become a Hollywood writer, a film producer, and a media personality.
Everything I do in life, I do it like a 7th-round draft pick. The odds are stacked against me. And so when I walk into a new space, whether it be a writer or a producer, I come in knowing I can outwork every single person in this room. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But in my mind, I believe that to be the case.
What habit or principle from your athletic career do you think every entrepreneur, athlete or not, should adopt immediately?
The biggest thing that I would tell somebody is...
Ephraim, welcome to Business MVP.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
So you were a 7th-round pick, and then you went out and started every single game of your rookie season, including the Super Bowl. What was driving you that nobody could see from the outside?
I think the most successful people in the world will all agree that self-motivation is the biggest factor in succeeding. For me, it started, believe it or not, back when I was 15 years old. And I had been playing football for about 2 years, and I started to begin recognized by colleges. And we had like a career fair in high school. I was a junior in high school, and my guidance counselor asked me what I wanted to do. And I said, well, look, I'm pretty good at football. I'd love to get a scholarship and then go play in the NFL. And she told me that...
Wait, this is after playing for 2 years, by the way?
Yeah. It happened really fast. Wow. It literally happened really fast. I didn't play any sports until I got to high school. My 9th grade year was the first year I played football, basketball. I was, I didn't grow up playing sports. And so I got my first letter from a college interested in me when I was 14, my sophomore year. And then it just kind of picked up after that. And so when I told her what my plans were, she asked me to pick something else. And I said, well, why? And she said, well, because that's impossible. Like 1 in 1 million kids gets an opportunity to play in the NFL. And it took me a minute, and I looked, and I asked her a question. I said, well, how come I can't be that one? And she didn't have an answer for me. And so at 15, which to this day, I have no idea how that even resonated in a way that it did with me. At 15, I decided right then and there, I wouldn't let anyone dictate or tell me what I can and can't accomplish. So being a 7th-round draft pick and being disappointed in being a 7th-round draft pick, I had the mindset of going into training camp and proving not only to the team that drafted me, but every other team that passed on me multiple times that they made a mistake. And so I had this engine that had been running inside of me since I was a kid. And once I became a professional athlete, that engine just moved faster and harder and longer. And I was determined to prove everybody wrong.
I love that. I'm assuming that mindset has stayed with you, and we'll get into that. So then 13 seasons in the NFL, which is a career very few people sustain. What kept you going inside the NFL? What was the mindset that made the difference to, be great for 13 seasons?
When people ask me what my biggest fear is failure. Now, failure comes in many different shapes, many different forms for each individual. For me, failure is when you set out to do something and you don't give it your all. And then you lose that something because you didn't pour everything you possibly could have into it. And so I don't like to fail. I don't like to lose. I've learned to deal with losing. Can't win everything. I've learned that. But I don't like to fail. And as long as you continue to move forward and work on things and pour everything you have into whatever that thing is, there is no failure. So for me, that's the thing that kept me going in the NFL is if I show up every day and pour everything that I have into this thing, then I can play as long as I want to. I can do this as long as I want to. And for me, after 13 years, I was ready to walk away, and I was able to walk away on my terms.
I love that. I love that you said, if you pour everything into it, then there's no failure. I love that. That's a great mantra. So do you have, I love to ask the who question. Was there a coach, or who was the coach, teammate, or family member that shaped how you think about performance and leadership? And did they teach you, and what did they teach you that you still carry today?
My best friend, I call him my brother. We grew up together. My best friend had um, a large and dynamic effect on how I see competing and approaching anything. Like I said, I wasn't really into sports, but my best friend, his name is Deion Taylor. He really was a tremendous basketball player since we were little kids, and his whole thing was like, I gotta make it to the league. I gotta go pro. I gotta do this, and everything he did was for that. And so living with him when I was growing up and being around him and his energy and his ability to manifest things, I kind of, because I was younger and I looked up to him, it kind of instilled those things in me. And so once I start playing and getting better, he was like, all right, so this is what we have to do. He's the reason I went to San Diego State because the year before me, he graduated a year before me. He got a full ride basketball scholarship to go to San Diego State, and we wanted to go to the same college together. So just his drive and motivation was enough for us both because I wanted to compete and keep up with him. Coming from a non-sports background, just having that day-to-day push and drive to be better and to want something more, it gave me the confidence to go after a lofty dream like the NFL.
So I want to shift a little bit and talk about your path to Hollywood. And I read, and you'll have to tell me if this is true, but I
Okay.
read that your path started with something that your wife gave you. There was a gift. Is that true? Can you tell me that story?
Yeah, I can. So my path in becoming a writer in Hollywood started with I had this idea of a romantic comedy that I had been bothering my wife with all the time. I was like, wait, what is it? But I'll tell you the premise of it. It was called a list, right? Like every married couple has a list. And what is the list? It's the list of, you get 3 to 5 celebrities that if you ever met, you essentially get a hall pass, right? It's a
I
hypothetical,
love that. Yes, we all have
hypothetical,
the list.
right? Never happened in a million years.
My
And
list
so I
only
was all,
gets one, but I never heard the 3 to 5. So your
yeah,
household
you
is
get three to
winning,
five. You
but
get
I thought it was just one.
because be- because the chances of you even meeting one of the people is a million to one. And the chances of you getting a yes from the one person on your list is next to impossible. So at least five, you get to even your odds out a little bit in your
I'm
favor,
going to make the argument.
right? You got to make that argument. Um, and so she was like, "Why don't you just write it?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know how to write." And so for my birthday, she got me an introduction to screenplay course taught by a professor. Um, and it wasn't in school. It was at his loft in the arts district down in downtown Los Angeles. And every Monday for 5 weeks, we would go for 4 hours, and he taught us the the technical aspect of writing. He taught us the how, the who, the why. The biggest thing as a writer is the why. Why would a character do this? So you start with a character, a breakdown, a character background, and that will inform you through whatever vehicle you're writing, how that character would react to it. And so after I took that course, I wrote my first screenplay with a good friend of mine who was a writer. Her name was Victoria Bullock, and we wrote the list together. And that was the beginning of this thing that I had inside of me that I never knew existed, this passion to tell stories. And it just it opened something inside, and I think I call every career I have I call lives. So I've had many lives, and sometimes one thing will lead into discovering a whole nother life.
Yeah, that's wild. I mean, that's also just so brave after, the NFL career. I love that.
Well, I'll tell you this, and the thing that I correlate together is there's nothing that I've ever done that's been harder than making the NFL and staying in the NFL, especially as a seventh round draft pick.
Okay. So this wasn't as hard then, I guess.
No, no.
That's wild. But I mean, it's wild because you stepped into a brand new industry with no connections. I mean, you weren't just, walking in the door with, the name of being a screenwriter and producer and all of that. And so no connections, no credentials, I guess. And, but you approach it with curiosity, coachability, same discipline probably that you approach the NFL with. So, how did the way you were trained as an athlete actually become your method for breaking into Hollywood? Like, did you use the same habits? Obviously, you weren't training on a field, but was it the same type of discipline? Like, talk about that.
The biggest thing for me, and I tell other players who are, playing and some players who are retired and looking to transition is number one, you already are, less than 0.1% of the population can become professional athletes. And so you've already done the impossible. The tools, the fortitude, the resilience that you use to become one of the rarest people on the planet Earth, if you apply those tools outside of sports, there's nothing you can't do. The reason I got an opportunity as a rookie to play is because I came in and I learned the playbook faster than anybody else who was younger or who was new to the team. That mental aptitude and fortitude allowed me to now use my physicality to go out there and be able to compete for a job. So now, if you're in the real world, you take that physicality and the beating that your body takes away, but you use that same mental aptitude, there's nothing you can't accomplish. So everything I do in life, I do it like a seventh round draft pick. The odds are stacked. They're stacked against me. And so when I walk into a new space, whether it be a writer or a producer or whatever that is that I take on, I come in with the same mentality, the same attitude. Number one, I belong here, right? I don't ever come in and feel like I don't belong. And number two, I come in knowing I can outwork every single person in this room. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But in my mind, I believe that to be the case.
I mean, like you said before, it's kind of hard to fail with those two things behind you. So that actually brings me to the next thing I want to talk about. I saw this quote, I think you've probably said a couple of times, but you talk a lot about owning your own story. So I saw this quote that you said, you tell retiring athletes, you're one of one. You've seen life through a lens very few people have, and that information is valuable. And I love that. So where did that belief come from? And when did you realize your story was actually your greatest asset?
When you and I'm older now, so like I said, I've had many lives. I've been I've done all kinds of I've done stuff that I've been in industries and succeeded in places most people if I told them they wouldn't even believe me. Um, I know my value. I know what I can bring to the table. I think the beginning of success, an individual has to know what their worth is. Like as you're sitting here and you're doing this tremendous podcast, you know the value you bring to this space. If you weren't sure of that value or second guess the fact that you're doing this, then it wouldn't turn out the way it turns out. So
Hmm.
sometimes we can get in our way of success.
Very true.
Sometimes we can be the roadblock that we run into on our journey to trying to do something different. And so I just removed the roadblocks. I believe I'm a one of one, and I think everyone should believe they're a one of one. My story of resilience and fortitude and belief, faith is the biggest thing that I would tell somebody to hang their hat on, is because if you don't truly believe you can do it, I can promise you, you probably won't. You probably won't, because you'll come up with ways to be okay with failing. You'll convince yourself, oh, the reason I didn't get it is because of this. And whether that be in sports, whether it be, oh, because the coach didn't like me, or that was the wrong team, or any of those things. But for me, it's I remove all of that. I remove all of that. Like, I'm not going to let my success be dictated on others, their perception of me, their belief in me. It has to come from inward. And then when you come in, you can show and you can prove to people that you do belong there.
So we've talked a little bit about, you do the writing for Bel Air on Peacock. And then I don't know if everybody knows, but he also co-hosts the podcast Done There, Been That. You do a number of things, and we'll get into a few more of those as we go. But I mean, when you stepped away from football, I mean, like you said, you've had 9 lives, but when you stepped away from football, did you ever imagine this is where you'd be? Because I think a lot of people are like, I've done one thing for so long. This is who I am. This is what I do. But, it's not true. Like, you can reinvent yourself. You can still follow the dream, right? So, like, for you, I can't imagine that you figured you'd be doing all of this, post NFL.
This is going to sound weird and crazy, but yes.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
when I was playing, number one, being a seventh round draft pick, nothing is certain. Nothing is guaranteed. And so I felt in 13 years, every year I had to prove myself to whatever team I was, no matter what my standing was, whether I was a starter. I always felt, whether this was true or not, I always felt that I had to prove that I belonged there. I had to prove that I was worthy of starting. And so I started my media journey while I was playing because I wasn't sure if they would replace me or not. I had the seventh round draft pick mentality of they can pick, and they tried. They tried a lot. It didn't work, but they tried to bring someone in to replace me. First round draft pick here, a higher draft pick there. Didn't work. Never really did. Because I knew I was willing to outwork everyone. And I was smarter than no, I had seen a lot. I've been through a lot. And so I knew in the off season, all while I was playing, I would come out here to Los Angeles and I would host certain shows. I would fill in on radio. I would do a lot of things for free. Like I would host shows for free just for the experience, just to meet people. And I tell athletes right now, current athletes, find something you love while doing something you love.
Yep. That's
Meaning
great advice.
meaning you're playing a game that you love, you grew up, this is the dream. Find something else in your off time that you love that you can now, when you retire, focus fully on. So now you're not scrambling trying to figure out, okay, what's next? I already knew what was next. I had already produced my first film. By the time I retired, I had been producing film for 6 years already. So I had already known that, okay, I want to come into the entertainment space. I had a TV or a radio or both show in every market I played in. Every team I played on, I started with radio in 1998, my rookie year, on V103 in Atlanta with Portia Fox and Ephraim Salaam on Falcon Fridays. That was my first foray into media.
Yeah.
And so ever since then, I knew that I had the gift to gab. I love to interact with people. And so I start
The gift
pursuing
of
those
gab.
things. I could talk. I
I
could
love
definitely
the gift
talk.
of gab. I'm going to use
Yeah.
that. Yeah, but I think you're pretty unique though, because I think a lot of people, they get so, hyper focused on what they're doing, or, it's so time consuming that they can't compartmentalize, that either just not to necessarily have a second career while you have one you already love, like you described, but even just to have a hobby or something else to pursue, to be passionate about, which is really healthy. So I think it's great advice, this, to whether or not you pursue it as a second career, just to have something else that you love doing while you also, have that day job that you love. And I think that's good advice, because it's also great to have a backup plan, right? This day and age, we never know what's going to happen. And, a lot of people get stuck, or they get laid off, something, and there's nothing else. You don't even know what else you're interested in. So I think that's really good advice. So I want to talk a little bit about your Hidden Empire Sports Collective.
Okay.
So you're now building career transition programs for retiring athletes through the Hidden Empire Sports Collective, essentially giving people the roadmap you had to figure out completely on your own. So tell us a little bit about that, and what does that mean to you personally?
Okay, so we have a company. We've had a film company called Hidden Empire Film Group the genesis of this company started 20 years ago. It's run by Dion Taylor, my best friend, who I consider my
Mm-hmm.
brother, dynamic filmmaker. And about a year and a half, 2 years ago, he said, "Hey, I want to start a sports division." We had a lot of athletes. We have the Floyd Mayweather docu-series that we've done. We had a bunch of other sports-based IP that athletes and things were bringing over to us,
Mm-hmm.
and and we were like, wow, this is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. We understood before the masses understood that live sports were heading towards streamers. Live sports is really the only thing millions of people watch live. It used to be TV, right? It used to be Friends or Survivor, but when the
Sitcom.
DVR, right? When the DVR
Mm-hmm.
came, it people were able to watch things whenever they wanted to. Like you could be a fan of a show and not watch it until you get home off work or until the next
Right.
morning. The one thing people like to watch live is sports. And so sports based IP or intellectual properties or shows, whether it be scripted or unscripted, now had another value. They had more value because what do you need if you have live sports and you're a streamer? You need ancillary programming to wrap around millions and millions of viewers live, right? So if
Mm-hmm.
you're watching Thursday Night Football on Amazon Prime, and then Amazon Prime comes out with, the Saquon Barkley documentary, well, that seems to be a perfect place to promote that, right? To 33
Yep.
million viewers live every Thursday. And
Right.
so we were on the forefront of that, and we had a lot of athletes coming over, and then Tracy Perlman over at the NFL, who I'd known forever. Me and Tracy go back well over 2 decades. Uh, they called Dion, Roxanne, our CEOs of our company, and we put together a career tour where 25 to 30 NFL players every March come out for a 4 day intensive, immersive experience in all things entertainment, whether it be directing, writing, acting, cinematography, all of those, investing, all of those things.
It's
Uh,
amazing.
it's been extremely successful. We just finished up our fourth year this year. It's grown to now we're partnered, or excuse me, they're partnered with us. Skydance has partnered with us. Sony and Disney Animation is now our partners
Amazing.
in this, and it's one of those things that's grown into something tremendous. A lot of athletes have a lot of stories. A lot of athletes have ideas, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a never ending mine of 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 stories and the ability to actually see things through that most people don't tap into. And we were the first company to really be like, no, this is something we need to grow, to cultivate, and to really help these guys understand the landscape of the business so they don't have to make the mistakes and step in the pitfalls that we did so many years ago while we were forging our path in this.
Well, what's the number one thing, that these athletes get wrong when they transition out of sports into business?
I think trusting the wrong people,
Yeah, I could see that.
trusting the wrong people. It's this is Hollywood, right? In Hollywood, everybody's a producer, everybody's a this, everybody's doing something,
Right.
right? That's just what comes with Hollywood, right?
Hmm.
The waitress at the restaurant is an actress,
Of
right?
course. Yeah.
The Uber driver is a screenplay writer, right? Like
Right.
everybody's doing something.
Trying
So
to make it. Yep.
yeah, and so if you come out and get the wrong information or attach yourself to someone who really isn't tapped into uh, the zeitgeist of what's going on in Hollywood and who can help you move forward, then you lose a lot of money and a lot of years in your progression.
I mean, that's a hard thing to teach, though. So are you essentially saying for them to trust you and to trust your organization then and helping to guide them, or?
We give them
Got
the
it.
information, and everybody's an individual. You can choose to take we don't have an ulterior motive. That's the whole thing,
Hmm.
right? It's a program. We've partnered with the actual NFL. Not many companies can say that,
Right.
right?
Yeah, it's
We've
amazing.
actually partnered with the NFL, and so it's just like they do broadcast boot camp, or they do
Hmm.
Wharton Business School and all of that. You
Right.
don't go to broadcast boot camp and think, oh, they're lying to me. You know what I mean? So
Right.
when we have these guys, I'm doing it. I'm a current television writer in Hollywood. I've produced film. Like I'm actually doing what
Right.
I'm trying to teach them to do. Dion, as a director, our film company is worth over $250 million independently. So
Hmm.
we it's not like we're making this up,
Right.
and so just the trust level from athletes seeing other athletes. Dion himself went and played professional basketball overseas after college. So it's two professional athletes guiding other athletes into a business that has been known to be unforgiving to people.
What habit or principle from your athletic career do you think every entrepreneur, athlete or not, should adopt immediately?
Being the product of no, you're going to get more no's than yeses. When we started this journey, everyone said no. Every single studio, every agent, every no, 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 because we weren't anybody. I was a guy who played football. He was somebody who played basketball. We had an idea for a movie. We paid for a script. We thought, yeah, they were going to make it, and then the world's going to see it. That's not how it works. And so being the product of no goes back to my guidance counselor telling me I can't be a professional athlete. If you believe the no's, then your life becomes one big no. And so
I agree.
sometimes Dion always says, we heard no so much, we had to tell ourselves yes. And so my advice would be like, always tell yourself yes, no matter how hard it is, no matter how impossible it seems, always say yes to yourself. And if you can do that, you'll find more success than not. Because if you believe the no's, then it just becomes no.
Yeah. And I think too, if you're always hearing yes, you're not necessarily reaching high enough potentially. But also the way I look at it now too is, if you're not getting out of your comfort zone and reaching for something that's not super easy and you're hearing those no's, then you're not growing, right? You've got to kind of get uncomfortable. You've got to hear the no and keep pushing yourself to really keep growing. So I think, always getting the yes, there's no benefit to that, right? It's like surrounding yourself with yes people. There's no benefit to that either.
Unless the studio is going to say yes to a $50 million movie idea you
Well,
got,
yeah, that's different.
then take the yes.
Then take it. Yeah. Run. No, totally. Totally. I want to talk a little bit about the Ephraim Salaam Foundation. So you want to tell us about what great work you're doing there for the next generation?
So for me, my mother is she was an educator before she retired. She got her PhD from UCLA in education, and she had always instilled. That's why I skipped 2 grades, graduated high school at
You're an
16.
overachiever.
Yeah. Well,
Just so we're clear.
my mother made sure I was an overachiever.
Yeah.
Um, but what I did notice is that, all kids didn't have an opportunity to further their education after high school. So we started the Ephraim Salaam Foundation. My mother came on and started running my foundation, and we gave scholarships to kids trying to further their education beyond high school, and giving them an opportunity to go and chase down that dream that may not have been possible financially. And it's something that means a lot to me, because no matter what you decide or choose to do in life, I think education is at the forefront of that. Like, even in my situation, when I did get to the NFL, being able to study and learn a playbook that had, I mean, a super playbook. Um, it just it wasn't difficult for me because of my academic prowess when I was growing up, and and being able to step in a situation, understand something, study it, and then use it. And I think furthering our education, no matter what it is, you see the younger generation now, everybody's a streamer or everybody a content creator, but just creating the content is one thing. The business behind, well, okay, what do you do? How do you monetize it? All of that is through education. You have to educate yourself. And now is the easiest time it's ever been in the history of the world to be able to access information. Right now, Sammy, you could sit there and be like, I want to become a lawyer. You can go online right now and just type in, I'm so and so years old. How do I become a lawyer? And it will literally give you a step-by-step process on how to do that. And it does that for every career you could possibly think about.
Well, I'm already a lawyer, so you're going to have to come up with another one for me.
A doctor.
Fine.
There we go, a doctor, right? A surgeon.
Yep.
A surgeon.
Exactly.
You got to become a surgeon, right?
But it'll tell you exactly the steps. You're right.
And I think that's power. This is a generation that has the level of knowledge, which is power, at their fingertips. They just have to want to access it.
So, Ephraim, last question. What does it mean to you to be a business MVP?
Oh, it means everything. Because if I'm considered a business MVP, that means I've done something right. It means I've done something right. It means I've worked hard. It means I've overcome the no's. It means that I had true faith and belief in myself, my abilities, and I've created an ecosystem with like-minded people that has allowed me to sit here with you as a business MVP.
Love that. Thank you so much for your time today. This has been wonderful.
Thank you. I appreciate this. Thank you so much, Sammy.
And that's how champions think. Here are the key takeaways from my conversation with Ephraim today. Think like a 7th round draft pick. The odds are against you, so outwork everyone. Your story is your superpower. Own it because you are a one of one. And don't wait for one chapter to end before you start writing the next. If you got value from today's episode, share it with someone who's ready to think bigger, compete harder, and win in business. I'm Sammy Peterson. Thanks for being part of the Business MVP community. And I'll see you next time as we continue building you into an MVP in business and in life.